I am an editorial developer for BuzzFeed UK, and most of what I do during the whole day is shipping things really quickly out of the door. And there's a certain skill set to being able to do that really very quickly. And I wanted to come here and live stream, hello internet, and to talk to some of the people at Peterborough STEM Festival about how to achieve this process really quickly. This talk's been adapted from one that was a little bit about SEO, so if I say something about SEO, just try to ignore it. So what I do in my day job is put all sorts of things out quickly on the internet, or do anything related to technology quickly. If someone has a question remotely related to do with computers, I will try and make it happen quickly. For previous employers, I had to get high definition streaming internet to the North Pole because Bear Grylls was there and he wanted to cook something live on webcam. I've had to launch aeroplanes from space, and I've had to get internet to work on a train properly. Haven't done that one quite yet successfully, as you can tell. I usually work for startups or publishers. They both actually have the same problem. For startups, you want to build your thing really quickly because you're going to run out of money, and you need to build it quickly to sell to investors who are also paying into the business. And for publishers, you've got to be the first onto the internet because there's some use to having the story first or having the first useful thing online. So actually a lot of these industries have the same problem, which is we've got to do it quickly. I have built an awful lot of these things. This is for a project called Us versus Them, which recently fell off the internet because they stopped paying the server bill. But each one of these builds was something topical and up to date. You know, we had to get it out the door quickly, or it would no longer really make any sense. And so can you. Hooray! By the end of this, hopefully you'll be inspired to go and build something nice and quickly, get it up online and throw it onto the internet with as little shame as you need to get yourself out there. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to work roughly. And it certainly doesn't have to be a website. One of the first things that I built back in the days of black and white was a music search service. I was just annoyed at how difficult it was to find MP3s online. There weren't even very many places where you could legally buy music, let alone just grab an MP3. I grabbed Twitter, which at the time was usually just on your phone. They barely had a website, and used it as an SMS gateway, and built a service whereby if you DM'd the Twitter handle that I used, just a band or a song title, it would text you back an MP3 that you could just save to your Nokia phone. Straight up it would work, and you can't do that now. That's actually my Twitter handle, and I'm not going to text you MP3, sorry. Insectobot is one that I really liked from a very recent build. It just tweets random generated images, which is simple and effective. It uses Photoshop scripting language. I would encourage you to go and talk to Paper Kayak on Twitch. She's very nice. And it takes requests as well, although the request system is currently being rebuilt on a Raspberry Pi, and we've got like half of the Raspberry Pi Foundation here today, so maybe they'll help out. The other one that I really liked recently was Subtitle Buoy. 10 points if you can guess what this is before I reveal it. It takes trending topics off Twitter and an image from a buoy that is in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean that the NOAA, a US organisation doing, which live tweets pictures from the buoy. And that's all it does. About every 10 minutes or so, it'll tweet a trending topic and a picture from the Atlantic Ocean. And I just think that's so lovely. And it's been going since November 2015 and only has about 100 followers, and I'm one of them. I drop them into BuzzFeed Slack, our work collaboration channel, all of the time. It's just a peaceful reminder that the world will go on without us. So how do you do this? How do you achieve this? Get an idea, sketch it, see if computers can actually do it, build it, run some pre-launch checks, launch it, fix it, and then make the next thing. And I will go into a little bit of detail on those. The first thing, especially for your first builds, if you're just getting started building something, is to have an idea that you want to own. Either solve a problem that you've got, create something that you wish existed, you know, just something fanciful, or make something beautiful. Now, you probably do need to really like this step because you're going to be going through hell creating your first thing. It's really tricky. So if you are excited about what you're trying to build, you've got that motivation to continue. So don't just blindly build something and then get bored and do something else. Have a think about what you want to build and think it through. Sketch it out. Pencil and paper are still fun. Whiteboards are still cool. If it's got an interface, how are people going to use it from start to end? If you think about the screens that they have to use or how they interact with your system, how are they going to do it? And if it's mostly just a processing system, where's the data in the system going to flow through? What talks to what? If you just draw that out, then you'll actually have a much easier time building it because you already know what you've got to tie together from place to place. Who are you drawing these for, these diagrams? Usually yourself. There's a wonderful method of programming that I use that makes me look like a complete nutter called rubber duck debugging. The idea behind that is that you just put a rubber duck on your desk and you talk through your problem to the duck. And by doing that, by talking it through with this inanimate object that you can squeeze to make a squeaky noise if, a bit of stress relief, you will figure out the way to do it while explaining it to the duck. It's actually surprisingly useful. Is it feasible? Can modern technology achieve your idea? Is your core problem approachable? The thing that you actually want to solve, can it be done? And can you work around limitations? If there's something that looks like a little bit of a stumbling block, are there other ways around it? And keep your first things simple. Solve a really simple problem, get it shipped and out there, you'll feel better for it. If you take on too much as a first project, it's going to be an uphill battle. Things from Stack Overflow copied and pasted together until they work, with a very little bit of glue. Offload the boring tasks. If you're talking to Facebook, if you're talking to Twitter, there's going to be a library someone has built for your programming language that does it for you. Don't do it from scratch, it's a huge waste of time. Has someone almost done what you're trying to do? Can you pick up someone's work from GitHub with an appropriate license and extend what they've been doing? If they've written it nicely and accessibly, that might save you a lot of time. And you should start to get really good at using search engines. Asking the correct question intelligently will help you out hugely. Pre-launch checks. Lest you launch something totally broken, you're going to want to make sure that the places that your users are interacting with your thing works loosely. So I work mostly in the website space, so I make things work on an iPhone and an Android and a desktop if I get time, because everything is mobile nowadays. If desktop is degraded, it doesn't actually matter very much. If you rely on resources externally, are they going to be okay if loads of people start using your thing? Are you going to knock someone else's server over if you're relying on their server? Are you going to knock your own server over? Or in my case, for one of the services I built, are you going to end up owing Russians a lot of money because you've made too many requests to their service? That's not really a problem you want to get into, so think about what happens if loads of people use it. And can you quantify the success that you've had? For web stuff that I do, I use Google Analytics. I just attach analytic events to absolutely everything, and then I can see how people are using it, and if they drop off at some point, I know that I've got a problem to fix. If it's something that you're just launching onto GitHub because you've made something cool for Arduino, have a look at the pull requests, at the issues, at how many people have starred it, how many people are tracking it, see if there's interest. And launch it. Hooray to your adoring world. If you want to just get nice feedback, launch it just to your friends, because they will probably be more polite than people on Twitter. Watch your social media. If people are talking about it, you might want to be part of the conversation. And watch your analytics if you have them. So like I say, for anything that I do on the web, I will watch to see, have they reached level 2, have they reached level 3, and if it all drops off at level 3, then I know I've got a problem there to go and fix. So the more data you can collect, the easier your life's going to be. And then fix it. I don't think I have once launched something that wasn't in some way horribly broken. The key part is doing it quickly. You will earn a lot of sympathy from your audience if your thing is a little bit rough around the edges. I've put things out on the internet that have been incredibly polished, so smooth, and people just expect it to work brilliantly if you do that. If you put out something that looks a little bit scrappy, you'll actually win a little bit of patience from them. They won't be expecting too much. Prioritize your mass audience. If you've got a problem that stops it working on all Androids, you should probably fix it. If you've got something that makes it not work on your manager's BlackBerry from 1996, it probably doesn't matter very much, just pat them on the head. And if you have feature requests or suggestions that kind of take it in a direction that you don't quite want, queue them up somewhere and thank them profusely for suggesting input, because that's always good, but just pop them in a basket somewhere and get round to them if you have time. And then do everything again. It's really tempting to hold on to a pet project for a really, really long time, but you should always look to the next thing. It may be time to open source your code at that point. If you've decided that you've reached a natural endpoint, you might want to put what you've done out there onto GitHub so other people can see what you've done and learn from it. That can help. GitHub in itself can become a little bit of a liability if it gets really popular. You don't want to get stuck supporting your thing, but it's also perfectly okay to walk away from a project and just say, here's the code as is, go and deal with it. Points to try and avoid when building something. You might have too much ambition too soon. I keep coming back to this because most of my first builds that I failed on tried to do too much, and you would find one component of 10 in a system had an insurmountable problem and it would go out. Falling out of love with the idea, I've done that so many times. You just keep slogging at it and it's not quite coming together and it becomes just such a drag. So a simple idea that you love is always going to be a good one. Your idea might turn out to be illegal. That has happened to me a couple of times. There might be a good reason that the thing that you're building doesn't exist. So be careful. I do now have a lawyer friend who will keep me in check, but you may accidentally create a monstrosity. If you keep extending your first build on and on and on and on, your code will start looking like a Gothic cathedral that's just had bits tacked onto it so often. This is fine, but you are then going to have to learn how to refactor your code, which is a different skill altogether. It might be useful. And not asking for help is, I am very, very bad at this, being English and reserved. I very rarely turn to my friends who know a lot more than I do and say, help, how do I actually do this? So never be afraid to ask for help. If you have friends who think less of you for asking for help, they're probably not very good friends. Everyone wants to learn. And why would you do this? Well, I have launched a lot of these, so I'm naturally predisposed to say everyone should do this. But I would say that having launched a service and looking at the life cycle of how one of these goes, how you build it, you launch it into the adoring public space, you maintain it a little bit, you answer Q&A questions about it, you have essentially customers, then you've essentially gone through the life cycle of a product in the business. You can put that on a CV. That's useful, communicable information. I have to employ coders nowadays, and the CVs that I get in front of me, if I have a stack of them all that say, I have a degree, I look like I'm going to turn up on time, it's like, that's fantastic. But if there's one that also goes, and I've launched this, this, and this, and run them, then I'm going to go with the people that have actually launched products, because they understand the emotional journey that they're going to go through. They know how hard it is when something doesn't go quite right. The theory is one thing, but in practice, actually launching a product is exciting and rewarding and challenging, and I want people to have done that. Feel free to ask me anything. I'm going to be wandering around anyway, and follow me on twitter.com, the website. My tweets are occasionally good. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Yay!
Anybody got any questions for Paul?
Hooray!
Hey.
Awesome work. The fantastic thing about this is that last time I did this at Brighton SEO was an audience of about 2,500, and this was considerably scarier.
Really?
This is a room full of people that know exactly what they're talking about.
No.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. If you'd like to stick around for the next ones, do it Sarah Elmore next, so if you want to wander or pop back in when she comes in, great.
Fantastic. We need holding music. You need like lift music at this point. Yeah. There you go, I'll give you that. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to go back and judge people.
Oh yes.
Cheers.
Right. So we have some notes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I've got the microphone.
Yeah.
This one. Got one from there.
More people. Hiya.